Okay, Delegate Price, HB 1312. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and members, I do have a substitute.
Is there a motion to adopt the substitute? So moved. Second, the substitute is properly in front of us. Welcome. If you could explain the difference.
Yes, thank you. So the issue that we're trying to solve, and the substitute matches the language that's in the budget, but the issue that we're trying to solve is tax relief for low and moderate income families, and this bill is regarding the earned income tax credit, which would help them by putting more money directly in their pockets. The substitute you have before you creates an option for qualifying Virginia taxpayers to elect to receive a refundable tax credit equal to 15% of their federal earned income tax credit. The goal is to provide larger tax refunds to more working families in Virginia, including those hardest hit by the pandemic. Adopting this reform would benefit thousands of taxpayers in each of your respective districts and help families afford life's essentials like food, utility bills, child care, and transportation. I've asked the clerk to pass out to you a breakdown of how this could help your constituents, and to note it would help in the 95th district, 10,300 filers. And for those that don't have the sheet, in Delegate Madam Chair's district, 7,400, and Delegate Byron's, yours would be 7,200, and Delegate Mundin King, 6,100, just as examples. Totally across the Commonwealth, there would be 600,000 working families that we could help. To claim it, taxpayers must have received earned income during the year, and the amount of the credit is calculated based on income, filing status, and number of children. Like in most states, Virginia does have a state-level credit that matches a portion of the federal credit, but unlike all but 5 other states, Virginia's credit is non-refundable, and that means more families are left behind. Mr. Chairman and members, in the past year, several additional states enacted refundable EITCs, including Oklahoma and Delaware, while other states such as Indiana expanded upon their existing refundable EITCs, and we can definitely help our residents like they are helping theirs. The refundable EITC is an important policy decision that we can make to ensure that working families who pay a larger share of their income, Mr. Chairman, in state and local taxes can receive tax savings. And finally, well, I'll note that some would say that, lots of families are being helped with the increase in the standard deduction, but these are the families that we're trying to help that would not be helped by that increase. So finally, Mr. Chairman, I will note, if you're wondering if we can afford to pay for it, yes, we can, because this is the legislation that is parallel to the EITC proposal funded in the proposed biennium budget. I hope it will be the will of the committee to pass this bill to provide much needed relief for these hundreds of thousands of families that need our help.
Thank you. Questions of the delegate? Is there anybody in the audience wish to speak for or against the bill? If you could please approach. Welcome.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman. Charles Kennington, Deputy Secretary of Finance. The administration does oppose this legislation. While the governor does not support making the EITC refundable, he has proposed a number of tax policy initiatives that are designed to lower the cost of living for all Virginians, like the tax rebate, which this subcommittee just heard, increasing the standard deduction, as well as providing a subtraction against income for military retirees. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Ashley Kenneth, and I'm the president and CEO of the Commonwealth Institute. TCI strongly supports strengthening Virginia's EITC to help hundreds of thousands of working families across the Commonwealth to make ends meet. I want to underscore that 3 in 4 filers in Virginia who receive the EITC have children in their home. That's about 700,000 children in total. The EITC helps children today, but it also has lifelong impacts, with research showing a number of improvements in health and education outcomes. A refundable state EITC was recently included among the recommendations from the Commission to Examine Racial and Economic Inequity in Virginia Law, as a policy to boost economic opportunity for people of color, especially Black and Latinx working people. The EITC also can be a powerful tool for supporting local economies, including in rural areas and small towns, where about 1 in 6 tax filers receive the EITC. This is a highly targeted policy that would help families in every corner of the Commonwealth, and I thank you and urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I do have somebody signed up to speak online. That'd be Miss Emily Griffey. If she could be led into the room, welcome, ma'am. Miss Griffey?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm
thank
Emily
you.
Griffey. Thank you. Emily Griffey, Chief Policy Officer at Voices for Virginia's Children. I align myself with the previous speaker supporting this legislation because of the impact on the children of Virginia. As you heard, 72% of the individuals who file have children in their household. We've seen how these direct payments can really help low-income families and through the efforts of the child tax credit. And I hope that you will look favorably on this proposal to direct resources to families with children.
Thank you very much. Any questions or a final word from the patron?
Yeah.
Final word.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would just say that I appreciate those that are trying to come up with tax policies for all Virginians. I think we're hearing that word all quite a bit. But I would just say that equality and equity are very different in these proposals. And this one here is to help those that are at the lower income and actually do pay that higher rate in taxes when you look at all the taxes that Virginians pay.
Thank you, Delegate Price. Delegate Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion, and I'd like to speak to that motion.
Delegate Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the delegate for bringing this bill. It's an enormously important bill. We talked a little earlier with respect to the tax rebate that passed earlier about, at least I talked earlier about targeted relief for Virginians. I think there is consensus in the economic community, regardless of party or liberal or conservative, that the refundable EITC is the most effective tool in our toolbox for helping low-income Virginians, particularly children in Virginia. And we have the opportunity to implement that tool, and I appreciate and congratulate Delegate Price for bringing this forward. We're doing a lot of things for Virginia taxpayers this year. It's that kind of year, and it's appropriate that we do so, but let's make sure we include everyone, and particularly our littlest ones. I think everyone on this committee understands that the EITC is an enormously effective tool, and we should not leave it by the wayside. So I move that we report this bill.
Second, may I speak? Is that appropriate to speak to?
It is absolutely appropriate. The bill has been moved to report.
Move to report and refer.
And referred, and it has been properly seconded, and it's now open for discussion. Now let me recognize London King, please.
Thank you. Just a comment for the patron. So I want to thank you on behalf of the 6,000 people in the 2nd District and Prince William and Stafford County for bringing this forward. I'm hopeful that the committee will be fair and report and refer this to appropriations, because in this committee alone, nearly 100,000 people would be impacted. And just to also note, this is a bit of a master class to provide us with these numbers in our district. So I want to commend you on that as well. But thank you for thinking of low-income taxpayers. And I actually have a question for the witness from the governor's office. And I'm so sorry, sir. Could you repeat your name for me?
Charles Kennington, Deputy Secretary of Finance.
Okay. Question for you. You are opposed to this because of what was the reason that you previously stated?
I think the governor's proposals to provide tax relief for all Virginians, including, as I mentioned, the tax rebate, which the subcommittee just heard and reported, increasing the standard deduction, eliminating the grocery tax, providing an income tax subtraction for military retirees, and other things.
Okay, thank you. Really quick follow-up, and then I'm done. So all Virginians, so what it appears is that you really oppose anything that specifically benefits low-income families. And that is extremely problematic for me, the district that I represent. And I would also like to just give a word of advice. If we are going to talk about lifting all boats, then the low-income boat should be one of those. So that language, all Virginians, it makes it clear that there's a division that all doesn't include low income. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Delegate.
Thank you. Let me just clarify, Delegate Sullivan, your motion was to report and refer the substitute that was adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're of course right. There was I forgot the substitute. So I move that we report and refer the substitute.
And Delegate London King, you are seconding that motion. Thank you. Well, we are now back in the proper form. Delegate Byron?
Mr. Chairman, before I make a motion, I just want to say one thing. The last comment about not supporting low-income people is not a fair statement when you think that the meals tax and many of the other tax deductions and other tax policy that we do, along with all the other budget requests that we do benefit low-income people. So I think that kind of takes it out of context. But, Mr. Chairman, I have a motion, substitute motion to lay the bill on the table.
Speaking to the motion, is that appropriate?
No, it's not.
The substitute motion is lay on the table. Is there a second? And seconded, if you could open the roll, please. You want to call Delegate Walker?
Delegate Walker, how'd you like to vote?
Aye.
Delegate Robinson, did you wish to vote? The motion to lay on the table is approved 5-2. Thank you very much, Delegate Price.